My name is Brittany Hansen, and today I will be discussing the leadership styles presented in Remember the Titans. And if you haven't seen the movie, I highly recommend it. It's a great movie, but if you haven't, I would also stop watching this video as there will be some spoilers to come in the next few minutes. Remember the Titans is a sports movie made in 2000, but it's based in the time period 1971 in Alexandria, Virginia. It's about a high school football team that has to learn to overcome racial segregation, as well as the addition of a new coach whose name is Herman Boone, and that's the leader that I'm going to be analyzing today. A school consisting of African Americans is forced to merge with a school of Caucasians, and all of the football players from both schools have to fight for a starting position on one condensed team. And with Coach Boone, they all go away to a camp and they focus on building their team, learning about each other with the players and the coaches, and also they come together to be the best football team around. Throughout the camp, the players learn to view each other as teammates and as people rather than just others as that have different cultures, different backgrounds, different races, and different skin colors. And throughout the football season, they had some negativity thrown their way and they were faced with some hardships, but at the end they overcame them and won the state championship. In Module 1 of this course, we talked about the introduction to leadership as a whole, as well as the different powers that leaders can possess and portray. And while watching this movie, I thought that Coach Boone portrayed examples of legitimate power as well as coercive power. An example of when he portrayed legitimate power is he really took his authority as a head coach to demand respect from the different players and the coaching staff. A specific example was at the beginning of the movie during his first team meeting with the African American players. He walked in and blew his whistle, and one of the players, his name's Petey, he was holding up his hand and he was smiling, asking basically for a high five from Coach Boone. And during this, Coach Boone went back and forth with him and convinced Petey that he shouldn't be smiling and football isn't fun, but he took it very seriously. And I think this kind of overflowed to the rest of the African American players to get the point across that Coach Boone meant business, and he took his job as a head coach very seriously. An example of when he portrayed coercive power was at camp. He told them that if they messed up, if they made a mistake, then they would run a mile, and no matter what they would do, they would learn that perfection was demanded, not only from Coach Boone, but they should demand it of themselves and of their players. We talk about the innate approach to leadership and the different traits that leaders should have. And the thing that I connected Coach Boone to the most with this module was his determination to win. And at the beginning when he talks with Coach Yost, who is the current head football coach of the Caucasian school, of the white school, he talks about how no matter the circumstances, no matter the situation that they're put in, he is there to win football games, and that is what he is determined and what his desire is for this new challenge. Module 3, we talk about the skills approach to leadership in relation to the innate approach to leadership and how they can compare and how they're different. And with Coach Boone, he, as a head coach, and as most sports coaches, they want to win and they want to succeed, and in order to do that, they have to focus on the skills that each of their players or their members have. And with this being said, they put the best players on the field, on the court, on the whatever to win. And I believe that's what Coach Boone does. He even tells Coach Yost, he says, the best players will play regardless of their color, regardless of their race. The best 11 people will be put on the field, and that is what he did to ultimately win them a state championship. Module 4 covers the critical leader behaviors, and Coach Boone, compared to all of the different plots on the Blake and Mooton's grid, I believe that Coach Boone is placed as a team leader. He is very focused highly on task and highly on relationships. He is very determined, and his desire is to be perfect in everything that they do in every aspect of the game. So that is the task side, and as far as the relationship side, he makes it a priority for the teammates and the players to get to know one another of the opposite race and tell Coach Boone something about the other players, and if they don't, then they will run and they will do extra practices and they will be forced to get to spend more time together until they do learn about each other. So I believe that really focuses on his task and his relationship side that makes him a team leader. When it comes to situational leadership, Coach Boone really strongly portrays all 4 leadership styles discussed, which is directive leadership, coaching, supportive leadership, and delegation. And with directive, this comes at the beginning when he is very stern, very strict, of demanding perfection and demanding respect from his players, and really setting his foot down on how he wants things done for his team. As far as coaching, he doesn't take the him being a coach out of the game and out of the situation whenever they're in they're in a game in the middle of the game, and if they make a mistake or if something goes wrong, he steps in and he coaches them, explains to them what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how they could be better next time. As far as supportive, an example is when they were at camp and he brings one of the players up to talk about another teammate. He gets intimate with him and asking him what his plans are after high school, whether he's going to go to college, whether he has a future in football. And the player basically says that he isn't smart enough and he doesn't have the brains to go to college. And not only is he a supportive coach, but on the personal side, he said, "You come bring me your tests, you come bring me your grades at the end of each week, and we will go through them together because I will make you." If you go to college or if you don't go to college, it won't be because you're not qualified, and I will make sure that you do end up qualified for college, and then it just becomes your decision on whether or not you want to go whenever the time presents itself. And as far as delegation, Coach Boone displays his how he wants his team strategized and coached, and he tells Coach Yost that you are in charge of the defense and I will be in charge of the offense, and from there, if there's a problem with the defense, I'll step in, but otherwise you're on your own with defense. I have full faith in you to control it and make us successful on the defensive side, and I will handle the offensive side. And this, I believe, delegates him from his position as a head coach and then Coach Yost's former position as a head coach by being the defensive coordinator. 6 discusses the achievement-oriented side of leadership and the motivation. And one thing that we talked about was internal and external locus of control. And that's what I really connected Coach Boone to from this movie is he really gives his players the ability to basically decide their fate. And if they want to get to know each other, then they build a relationship with their teammates and they don't have to do an extra practice. But if they don't, then they have to do an extra practice or 2 a day, which at the end of the day is more tiring on their part and more stressful on their part than just getting to know each other. So that really puts their fate in their own hands. And Coach Boone just basically says you can get to know each other or you can practice. It's your choice. Module 8, we talked about the differences between transactional leadership, transformational leadership, and outstanding leadership. And I would compare Coach Boone to being a transactional leader because of his ability to portray and demonstrate contingent reward as well as management by exception. And when it comes to contingent reward, he rewards his players on if they do well in practice and if they train hard and if they are as close to perfection as Coach Boone believes that they could be, then he rewards them with playing time through the games. And as far as management by exception, there are 2 different types that we talked about, active and passive. And I believe that as a coach, it's kind of hard to demonstrate active management by exception. So with that being said, Coach Boone shows more of a passive side, and that happens when they're in practice and a player misses a block or misses a tackle. Coach Boone can pull them aside and explain to them their mistake and why it was a mistake and how to be better and kind of coach them through it. But it's really hard as a coach to portray an active management by exception because you can't really prevent a mistake from happening because the player has to learn on their own by making the mistake and then learning not to do it again. Module 9, we talk about the gender and participation within leadership, and we also discuss self-efficacy as well as self-esteem and the difference between the two. And I believe that Coach Boone really portrays both of them in this movie. He displays self-efficacy when he says that I know that I can do this, and he tells Coach Yost, look, I know I can do this. I know I'm going to be successful, so please have faith in me as well. And he has self-esteem based on Coach Yost basically re-evaluating and re-bringing up that he has been successful and he has had past experiences with being head coaches and brought home championships to the school. So that kind of boost up his self-esteem as well. Lastly, in Module 10, we talk about discrimination and diversity within the workplace in leadership, and I think in this movie, that's what it's all about, is discrimination and the difference between the two cultures and the two races. I believe that Coach Boone used the discrimination that the community brought towards him and towards his family. I believe that he really used that as motivation. And at the beginning, whenever he finds out that he's going to be appointed the head coach instead of just an addition to Coach Yost's staff, whenever he walked outside and saw all those people clapping and cheering for him, and the players coming up and introducing themselves to him, I think that really shows his motivation and how he used discrimination to drive him and make him more determined to be successful, not only for himself and his family, not only for the players, but for the community as well. Thank you for watching my analysis of Coach Boone from the movie Remember the Titans. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you saw the connection between Coach Boone and the different modules that we talked about in our course. Thank you so much for watching.